So Professor Graham Medley, who is the chairman of SAGE, which is the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, has advised the government that they may need to start closing pubs in England. This is in order to control the transmission of the virus so that schools can reopen after the summer holidays. Now, Medley said that opening schools should be a priority for the well-being of children and that closing something else would help control the infection rate. Now, most people will agree that children's education during the lockdown has generally been a shambles. While it's important to protect children and their teachers from the pandemic, the trade-off has seen some kids losing out greatly, especially those from working-class backgrounds. Medley also said that some trade-offs would need to be made. Somewhere else in society that is not a priority must take a hit in order to allow schools to reopen. He clearly doesn't think that pubs are anywhere near as important as schools. Now, Boris Johnson raised the threat last Friday of the need for a second national lockdown. He talked of such as he paused new freedoms due to fears that any further reopening of the economy could see a massive resurgence of the virus. At the same time, England's Chief Medical Officer, Professor Chris Whitty, said that the UK had, and I quote, probably reached the limit of what we can do. Experts say that we should expect to see more local lockdowns like the one last Thursday night. Now, while the first wave, or perhaps it's more correct to say current wave, we saw most cases appear in older age groups. However, recent data shows that there is a rise in younger people, and there is a huge risk that many of them will transmit the virus to the older population. Data from the Office of National Statistics, the ONS, shows that new infections have jumped from 2,800 the week before last to 4,200 last week. Now, while this is well below the pandemic peak, it's a worrying trend. A SAGE report published just before pubs reopened in July said that the experts are extremely concerned about public order, saying that while the situation is currently manageable, if even a slight change took place, there could be a loss of control. The pandemic could resurge to a level that was uncontrollable. Public order seems to be pivotal here, thus the idea behind putting schools before pubs. However, public order issues would, of course, spill over into the criminal justice system and also affect the health of the economy. SAGE also expressed concern about large gatherings, be them protests or social events like concerts or street parties. Now, while there is an attempt by SAGE to keep out of politics and stick to the science, some comments can be seen as insensitive towards certain communities. SAGE has said that the military might need to be brought in if the situation were to get out of hand, considering that some right-wing and extremist groups are attempting to take advantage of the situation. Now, I really hope they're wrong about that. We also have to remember that many in the Black, Asian and ethnic minority communities are facing an increased sense of racial injustice, inequality and discrimination, and that these communities have been disproportionately affected by the pandemic. While we've been in lockdown, we were able to manage, to a certain extent, this pandemic, pushing down the infection rate. But as we reopen, we're starting to see a rise in cases. Now, this is to be expected, but it is important that any measures taken are as close as possible to the science and not purely politically or economically driven. It will be a difficult time going forward for many businesses. Pubs provide an important outlet for many people, and it also serves as a social gathering place. However, it looks like pubs will need to be sacrificed for the education of children, but surely that is a reasonable price to pay. Let me know in the comments, guys, if you agree or disagree with me, but always your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. Why not become a Patreon and enjoy access to our Discord server where we share news, chat, and have some fun? If you become a patron, you can also make video suggestions on topics that are important to you. Check it out via the link in the description.